He's back with us Sunday morning here on All Mixed Up at 105.5 WDHA. James Mastro, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good. Dawn of a new era, of course, the solo album, first ever solo album that's been out for a while. And you were on the road for a good chunk of the summer with Alejandro Escovedo. What was that like?
It was great. He's a good friend, and I was doing double duty. I was opening the show solo and then sitting in with his band. I had to take a lot of hats with me for that. But it was, when you're working with someone not only that you admire but you get along with, you almost feel like you should hand the money back to the people paying you. So.
He's such an amazing songwriter.
He really is. And, I've been lucky that way to work with the people who I'm a fan of. So, again, it makes the job easy. And, there's constant inspiration there. And he is a true artist. Nothing is sacred. He'll rearrange his songs just to change them up, kind of like Dylan does, just to keep it interesting for himself. And the fans go on a journey with him every time. So
You mentioned inspiration. You kind of alluded to a question I wanted to ask you. What is the biggest inspiration you take when you're on the road with an artist like him?
um, hmm. Well, we both have very similar musical tastes and loves, he and I. So we, Mott the Hoople and early punk rock stuff. So that's kind of always in there. And when he throws out a reference, I know exactly what he means. Um, so certainly those bands and that artist, that genre of music is what we draw our inspiration from. So
You mentioned Bob Dylan, and I'm not sure. You must know Rob Stoner, who played with
yeah,
Dylan for a
yes, sir.
number of years. Rob tells some amazing stories on his Facebook page, and there's one. It was about a year and a half or so ago, and he talked about he and Dylan. They were going on stage to do something on a television show, if I'm not mistaken, and Bob turned and said, "We're changing the key." For whatever reason, it just hit Bob. I think we'll do it. I don't know, B flat, E flat, whatever it was. It was an odd key that he threw
Yeah, they're
out.
always flats. Like he's known for that. So
So you've got a number of shows coming up, both with Alejandro Escovedo. I believe you'll be out for a good chunk of the remainder of the month of October. And then you come back into our area, including a show on Saturday, the 26th of October with the Jayhawks at the Newton Theater. Have you played with them before?
I have. I've again another bunch of friends in that band. I've done little mini tours with them or sat in whenever they're in town. But this time I'm opening the show. They had asked me to do a few, but I'm out with Alejandro. So this one worked out. I fly back from Texas that morning, so I'll be a little haggard, but they're such a great band, and so I'm looking forward to it.
One of the things I've always liked about them, in addition to their songwriting and their performing, is some of the choices that they make when they choose to cover a song. I think Grand Funk Railroad is the
Yeah,
last band I would expect the Jayhawks to cover.
yeah, and Bad Time, and it's such a great version, and I think they kind of had a hit with it too. So Grand Funk cashed in twice.
And
Uh,
that's one of the things. If you're covering a song, I mean, you kind of make it your own, which is what they did with that.
yeah, yeah. Well, those harmonies they have are just spectacular. The Newton Theater for me is also kind of like going back home. I grew up in Landing, Lake Apacong area, so I got a lot of friends still out there. So I'm especially looking forward to this show. So
And then we get you with Marshall Crenshaw on a few area dates. And you and I
yeah,
were talking before we came on the air about underrated guitar players. And I think Marshall is definitely one of them.
one of the best. I mean, seriously, like people just think of him as this pop writer, but man, that guy. And I've sat in and played with him, and he'll start showing me chords, and my eyes roll back in my head. Like he's a master. He really is a great player. so yeah, I'm doing a couple weeks opening with him, and again another friend. So I just feel lucky to be hanging with all these folks. So.
And you fall into that. I don't know if underrated is the right word for you, but I think back as the work because I first became aware of you with Richard Lloyd,
Mhm.
and the work that you had done there. And you remind me a lot of Crenshaw in that matter because maybe we think of you with Health and Happiness Show or the bongos or some of the solo
Mhm.
stuff that you've done. And there's this whole other side of your guitar playing, much like Crenshaw, who was heavily influenced by Jimi Hendrix, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
yeah, and Crenshaw can do it, and Richard also. Richard Lloyd from television, for those who may not know, and really one of the best guitar players out there. And I was playing with him when I was 17. So I pretty much learned how to play guitar from him. She taught me a lot, and I had to jump right in, and so I'm thankful for that. So.
By the way, the Crenshaw dates Sunday, November 17th in Manhattan at City Winery, and then here in New Jersey, Saturday, November 23rd at the Wonder Bar in Asbury Park. So that's a
Mhm.
great double bill. I'm really looking forward to the Wonder
Oh
Bar
well,
show.
thanks, Jim. Yeah, and I'm doing one more Jersey show in Freehold, and this will be with my full band that has Tony Shanahan from Patti Smith and Dennis Dykman from the Smithereens and Megan Riley, great singer, and Chris Robertson. And that's in Freehold, a great little venue that I did with Alejandro called Concerts in the Studio. And it's really intimate, and so I'm really looking forward to that too. So, yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to catch up with you on is 503 Social Club in
Mhm.
Hoboken. And in fact, we've mentioned Richard Lloyd. He just played this past Tuesday night. You get some amazing artists in there.
Uh, we do, I'm cashing in favors from friends. So if I know someone's out there and they have an off night, I'll reach out to them. And I've been fortunate. Friday we had Wesley Stace, aka John Wesley Harding. Uh, I've got James Maddox coming up in November, and Life in a Blender, crazy band. So yeah, it's selfish because I do it for me so I can see my friends up close.
I had a chance to go down to the Vicky Peterson, John Cowsill show
Mhm.
over this summer, and this, obviously this little hole in the wall place. If you blink, you pass it. You don't even know
Yeah.
it's there, and it was just a wonderful night of music.
Well, yeah, I try and keep it a secret, so I guess we're not doing too good of a job right now. But it's turned into be a very nice community thing. We have artists showing their work, we have friends coming into play, and we uh, have different events going on. So not something I'd planned to do; it just kind of happened, and so far so good. So.
For listeners who are actually watching this on video, they can see that the picture of Jimi Hendrix is behind you. Where was that taken? Do you know?
That's a good question.
Maybe the
Good
Fillmore?
question. I don't know the answer to. So, uh, could be the Fillmore. I don't know. You know.
There's I think there's another new. I know there's a film coming out on Hendrix, and there's another album from Electric Ladyland. I mean, the guy filmed and or recorded pretty much every
Yeah,
breathing moment that he had.
I don't think he slept. It's amazing that they keep finding stuff of him. It's you know, lived a full life for 26 years.
Vernon Reid said to me once that it wasn't what Jimmy did because a lot of guys can play what Jimmy played. He said it's that Jimmy thought of it first.
Right.
And
That's
all
true.
these years later, we're still trying to catch up to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
So, for our listeners who want more information on you, they can go to your website, jamesmastro.net. And again, Saturday, October 26th at the Newton Theater with the Jayhawks, and then a bunch of shows coming up with Marshall Crenshaw, including November 17th, City Winery in Manhattan, and Saturday, November 23rd at the Wonder Bar in Asbury Park. James, always good to catch up with you and looking forward to seeing you at one of these shows.
Thanks, Jim. And I'll come out and see you one of these days too and heckle. So.